January 1st, 1944. A new year has begun. I will no doubt often recall the magic of the fireworks of New Year's Eve. Towards dawn it stops snowing, and the visibility is half decent. We know that the enemy is somewhere over there in front of us, but he is well camouflaged. Last night we were told that we might be returning to our quarters tonight, provided nothing in particular changes here on the front. We are sitting in our hole, which we have cleared of ice, and gaze out from time to time towards the front. Many more pairs of eyes are doing exactly the same thing. The night was so full of activity that we could not spare the time to eat, so we catch up on that now. During the attack yesterday, we were able to get hold of 2 cans of American beef, which the enemy in his haste to retreat had left behind in one of his trenches. As Paul opens one of the cans, he remarks that the Russians are living quite well on rations that are made in the USA. And besides rations, the Russians have been supplied with vehicles and military equipment, which from time to time we have destroyed or been able to capture. Paul cuts a large piece of meat out of the can, which he hands over to me on the point of his knife. I place it in my canteen lid and examine the knife. I have often admired this knife, a hunting knife with a deer horn handle. A very nice knife, I remark, and weigh it in my hand. Yes, it belonged to my older brother. He used to go hunting quite often. There's loads of game where I come from in Sauerland. He stayed in Stalingrad last year. You can keep it if you like. I am amazed. Just because I like it, Paul, doesn't mean that I should have it. I know that, but I'd like to give it to you. What about you? You need the knife yourself. Bon appétit! Here we go again. I hear Paul murmur and notice that he twitches every time a grenade or shell explodes nearby. Just take it easy. Breathe deeply and don't lose your nerve, I tell myself, as I have at least 100 times before. Sometime our friends on the other side just have to run out of ammunition for God's sake, but not yet. The terrible firework display goes on for over an hour. The fire dies down after that, but they still open up with mortars and machine guns from time to time. Every now and then I peer through the telescopic sight and get angry. The Russians are running back and forth, bent double, well within range, but here we are, and we can't even raise our heads. They have us in their sights all right. As soon as they see the least bit of movement, they fire at us. What's more, out there somewhere in front of us, a sniper has dug himself in, so well camouflaged that I can't pick him out even with my telescopic sight. I am aware of his presence only because of the dangerous explosions all around our position, which have a noticeably higher tone, which continues to ring in the ears. How long will this continue? How long before we can look out again? Paul comes up behind me from his cramped position in the bottom of our foxhole. What's the matter? I ask, concerned. I can't squat anymore, and I can't kneel any longer. I'll go crazy. I can understand what he means. I have the same feeling, but I feel responsible for him as he has only been with us since the end of November and is still a bit impetuous. Stay down anyway, Paul. They're watching for any little head movement, I tell him. I wouldn't half like to burn his hide a bit, then I'd feel better. He growls angrily and ducks down behind the machine gun. Don't do anything stupid. When nothing's happening, don't start anything. It's not worth it. Paul looks through the sight. Look at those new Ivans dancing around over there. Let's send a few rounds over. No, I say firmly. No one else is firing. I wonder why he is so set on opening up. He must know that it doesn't achieve anything in this situation. At best, we give away our position, and the enemy will fire off another barrage. He continues to watch through the telescopic sight. After a while, he gets excited. Hell! They are setting up a couple of mortars there in front of us. This is interesting. I push him to one side and look through the sight. Okay, the Russians are pulling a mortar forward out in the open. That's dangerous for all of us. Automatically, I aim the machine gun and grasp the trigger. I locate the target through the sight, but at the same moment I spot a fur cap and a rifle behind a snowdrift. I dart back and snatch Paul with me down. A piercing explosion nearly rips my eardrum and continues to ring under my helmet. I go white. The explosive round from the sniper has missed me by a hair's breadth. Only slowly does the blood return to my head. Damn, that sniper has us in his sights. We can't even get behind the gun, I curse. But at least you know where he is. Just aim there and shoot blindly at him. Your height has already been set, Paul suggests. Well, I could do that, I suppose. Then a grenade lands at the very edge of our foxhole. We are glad we are in the bottom, otherwise the splinters would have killed us. We are packed together like two sardines. Clods of earth and snow are falling down on us. We look at each other. Then our mortars wake up and fire into where the enemy is massing. Paul is pushing himself up again. Are you tired of living, or what? I yell at him. I just want to see what Ivan's up to. Paul looks towards the front, but a big explosion hurls him back against the wall of the foxhole, and he crumples in a heap, pale-faced. The machine gun has a couple of scratches on the metal. I hope you're satisfied, I grumble to him. It now looks as though we'll have to remain here until dark with our heads down. Paul soon has the color back in his cheeks and is taking deep breaths. We've got to smoke those bastards out, he remarks. Quite, but how? He has his nose up first and fires instantly. Besides, I don't think he is the only sniper out there. We sit hunched together at the bottom of the foxhole and stare at the icy mud walls. Our cigarette butts are piling up on the floor, our lips are dry and cracked, and when we smoke, small pieces of skin are left hanging on the butt. Paul pulls out an orange-colored butter tin in which he has a piece of soft cheese and a leftover piece of American meat. Paul does not even notice when I stand up and take a look over the edge. I avoid showing my head on the left-hand side of the machine gun because I know that at least the one sniper has his weapon aimed right there. There aren't many Russians to be seen. I can't see the sniper, even through the sight, but I do spot two heads under cover of a snowbank. Looking carefully, I can make out the white camouflaged protective shield of a heavy machine gun sticking up above the snow. I let out a low whistle. What you got? Asks Paul straight away. I've just spotted a heavy machine gun position in front of us. Really? Paul wants to come up and see. Stay down. It's bad enough when one of us looks, I tell him sharply. Maybe the sniper's gone? You don't really believe that, do you? When he's got us in his sights, he won't let go until he's nailed us. But he doesn't shoot at you. I'm on the other side of this gun, or didn't you notice? What on earth is the matter with Paul? I've never seen him so upset. Again, he wants to come up. Keep down, damn you. This is the first time since Paul and I have been together that I have raised my voice to him. I'm angry because he is so stupid, and I remember the promise I gave Katya that I'd look after him. When I again glance over towards the Russian machine gun position, I notice two figures crawling up towards it and two figures retreating, so they are changing shifts. If the snipers were not out there, I would fire off a few rounds, but at the moment I won't risk anything and would rather bide my time. I lower the entire machine gun on its mounting to one side in order to get a wider view, and then there is another sharp crack right in my eardrum. Quick as a flash, I duck down and then freeze. With his eyes wide open, as if struck by lightning, Paul slumps in a heap down at the bottom of the foxhole. He must have popped up behind me in spite of my warning not to. I stare aghast at the fist-sized hole in Paul's head just above his left eye, from which blood is leaking in dark red streams onto his steel helmet, and from there right over his face and into his mouth, which is moving up and down. I am in total panic and try to turn his body over on its side so that the blood in his mouth will drain out. The blood is now streaming out, forming a small pool on the ground. It is pumping out of the wound so fast that I can hear a light clucking sound. The two first aid bandage packs which I have pressed into his wound don't help, and the puddle gets bigger. My hands are trembling. My knees grow weak and shake. I can't do anything more. His face is already as white as a sheet. A shell explodes nearby and makes me jump. I cup both hands to my mouth and yell to the rear, "Medic! Medic!" "What's the matter?" someone replies. "Paul Adam has been shot in the head. Perhaps he can still be saved." "No one can get the bugger out," the voice yells back. In spite of the danger, I simply can't stay in the foxhole. I have to do something. Panic-stricken, I jump out and bound off to the rear until I tumble into a hole. "Have you gone mad?" an unteroffizier yells at me. My ears are still ringing from the exploding shell. All around the hole, the snow has been churned up by enemy machine gun fire. I breathe heavily and cough. Maybe, but a medic must come. Perhaps Paul Adam can be saved. Calm down, says the Unteroffizier. If he's been shot in the head, there's nothing even a medic can do. That's as may be, but we must at least try. He can't stay in the foxhole. If anything happens up front, I can't keep stepping over him. Besides, I need an assistant gunner. I know, and the CO has also been told. He is a bit further back by the mortars. A couple of blokes were killed by the artillery shelling. My excitement is slowly beginning to wear off. Why on earth did I run out of the foxhole? Did I want to fetch the medic myself, or was it pure panic because I couldn't bear to look at Paul's face? We had just spoken to each other, and then within seconds he was lying in front of me with this terrible head wound. Everything was instantly different. He was lying there in his own blood, unable to talk. I've never seen so much blood flow from a single wound. It was just like a gurgling spring. I knew that Paul had been killed instantly the moment he was felled like a tree beside me. His mouth moved up and down only because his nerves were twitching. That bloody sniper. If only I could catch him, it would give me the greatest pleasure to wipe him out, without compunction, even if he were on his knees in front of me and begging for mercy. During a short lull in the shelling, someone jumps out of a hole and sprints over towards my machine gun position. "Stay here!" someone yells after him. I recognize the runner as being our new Sanitätsgefreiter, and I jump up and run after him. He is a really nice bloke, and I hope nothing happens to him. It would be my fault if it did. The mortar rounds and the machine gun bullets force us to take cover in a shallow depression in the ground. "Is Adam still alive?" inquires the medic. I shake my head. "The explosion ripped open the entire left side of his head," I tell him. "I'll check it out myself." He nods and dashes the few meters to my foxhole. With a couple of strides, I am in there as well, pressing myself hard against the inner wall so as not to step on Paul Adam. "He's lost an awful lot of blood," says the medic as he looks at the frozen pool under the corpse. "There's really nothing more we can do. He must have been killed instantly." I nod. "What can we do? I can hardly move in this position, as you can see." The medic looks at me. "You can, but you would prefer not to have to walk round and over your friend. And I can understand that. Let's see if we can find an empty hole to put him in. I know of one hole where there are 2 dead already, killed by a direct hit from an artillery shell." An hour passed before it became quiet enough for us to risk moving Paul Adams' heavy body into an empty foxhole. Fritz Heyman gave us covering fire with his heavy machine gun, keeping the snipers and the enemy machine gunners' heads down. But then all hell was let loose. The Russians opened up furiously with mortars. When I managed to save myself by diving into my own foxhole, I found Panzer Grenadier Schroeder there, pressed against the frozen mud wall. "The CO told me I was to report to you as your assistant gunner," he says. Good grief, I think. Why on earth did they send me the little fair-haired Schroeder? Didn't they have anyone else? I feel like yelling at him, although I don't know why. Then I sit down on a couple of ammunition boxes across from him and light my pipe. Schroeder smokes a cigarette. "You know how Paul Adam died?" I ask him. "Yes, a shot in the head." "Good, then you can imagine what will happen to you if you stick your head up." "Well, that doesn't happen to everybody. And besides, we need to keep a lookout now and then, right?" I wonder whether Paul had a premonition about his death, but Katya, she must have sensed something because she told me to look after him. She can't blame me for what happened. I did all I could. I even yelled at him, something I'd never done before. And now little Schroeder is in my foxhole. I have to watch over him as well, Katya said. My God. Well, I'll do my best, but I can't tie him up. It is already late afternoon. The air is misty, and this could be an advantage for us. It's more difficult for the snipers. The mortar fire has eased a bit. From time to time, I look towards the Russian positions. They are also quiet. Only occasionally do I see a hunched figure slinking across the snow. It's unpleasant for me, but I have no intention of pulling rank. "It's for your own good, Schroeder," I explain. "He is already up and crouches close behind the machine gun. Perhaps the enemy really can't see us anymore." "There isn't much to see, that's for sure," he says. After a while, he points with his hand at something and asks excitedly, "What's that over there?" I can only see a thick black line moving from left to right. "Can't we take the telescopic sight off and look through it?" he asks me. "That's not a bad idea. Then we could stay down more and be better protected." "Good. Take it off. But be careful." Schroeder leans forward carefully and unscrews the butterfly nut. The sight doesn't move. It might be frozen. He uses both hands and, as he does so, raises himself up a little more. Then there is a crack, like a whiplash in my ear. Schroeder sinks down, just as Paul Adam had done before, and lies at my feet. Even before I bend down over him with the bandage from my kit bag, I call loudly behind me, "Medic! Schroeder's got a head wound!" The young medic is not far away. With a couple of strides, he is back with me in my hole, bending over the wounded man. My face is deathly white, and I am shaking at the knees. My mouth dry, I warn him of the sniper and ask, "Is he dead?" The medic shrugs his shoulders. "Almost the same injury as Paul Adams," he decides. Only this time the bullet exploded as it exited his head. Hellish ammunition. This is the second one after Paul Adam. Schroeder has a normal bullet hole over his left eye, but behind the left ear is a large wound from which blood is just streaming out. The medic bandages him around his head, but the bandage is immediately saturated, so he winds another one around his head. "Is he alive?" I ask with concern. The medic carefully holds Schroeder's head, looks into his pale face, and feels for the artery in his neck. He can't feel anything, apparently. Maybe he is alive, maybe not. I can't tell here in the foxhole. With head wounds like these, there's not much more you can do, but I'll try to get him to the main medical station. He may not survive the journey there, even though there might still be a spark of life left in him now. According to him, there was not much hope. Thus Schroeder was the second man to die in my blasted foxhole. And for some unknown reason I survive, even though I have been observing from this hole for a lot longer than they had. Fate is terrible and not to be dismissed lightly. I have been fated to experience close up how my comrades can be snatched away within the blink of an eye. I am doomed to bear the pain and the sorrow over their loss, and also to bear the fear for my own life even more strongly than before. "Come on, you take the legs," I hear the medic saying, and together we lift the lifeless body out of the hole and lay him in the churned-up snowdrifts behind us. It is almost quiet, with only the occasional rifle shot. It is already so misty that visibility is very low. "Let him lie here for a moment. I'll fetch a stretcher from the Schwadron's Gefecht stand," says the medic, and he disappears to the rear. He returns after a couple of minutes with a sanitet's unter a fissure. He bends down over the lifeless Schroeder. "I don't think there's much we can do, but we'll take him with two others to the main dressing station, where the surgeons can take a look at him." After they have placed him on the stretcher, I take a look at little Schroeder one last time and gaze into his pale face. I think I can see his eyelid twitching, but I'm not sure. He really looks like all the other dead men I've seen during combat, and amazingly enough, I would see Schroeder again 10 months later when, after a serious wound, I ended up at a convalescent center. I will mention this again at the right time. Up until this moment, we had all considered Schroeder to be dead, and as far as most of the war casualties were concerned, we never had any feedback as to what had become of an individual, except if a known officer was concerned. With Schroeder taken away, several of my friends come to me in my foxhole. In the course of our conversation, an awful lot of expletives rise into the frosty winter air, directed at the snipers. In all, 5 men have fallen victim to them, based on the fact that all these 5 men had been killed by shots to the head. By the time it is dark, everything is over and the enemy has been thrown out of his positions near to our front. The troops relieving us enjoy some respite, but for how long? When the next day dawns, we are again en route back to our quarters, January 2nd. Katya has, as usual, cleaned and organized things and made sure that they are pleasantly warm when we return. On Paul Adams' bed is a woven wreath, in the middle of which a lighted candle has been placed. Little Schroeder has his bunk in the neighboring hut. I wonder how Katya could have known. No one has come back from the front since yesterday. The ration vehicle was not at the front either, because they knew that we were being relieved, and the first bodies were only brought back this morning. I begin to get an uneasy feeling about Katya's uncanny ability to sense what is going on. She doesn't welcome us as she usually does. The candle has not been burning for long, so she must have been in here only a short while ago. We do not see Katya until the evening. Her eyes show that she has been crying, and she doesn't talk to us very much, nor do we have much time. Our unit has again been reorganized, and Peronnier from the light platoons joins us. Later the Spies comes and tells Warius, Fritz Hamann, and me that we can now sew the long-overdue second stripe on our arms. This promotion means a bit more pay. Since we now are expected to offer a round to the men, I'm glad I saved a bottle of juniper brandy from the last canteen supply we were given. January 3rd. During the evening, we suddenly receive our marching orders. We're told to move to another village not far from Dniprovka. We assume it's a parting gesture from General Schörner. Everything happens so fast that we don't even have time to bid a proper farewell to our lovely Katya. She's in the kitchen, and only her mother is in the house. Her mother tells us that Katya has been crying and praying a lot. Paul's death must have affected her badly. We see Katya when our vehicle has taken up its position in the convoy and we're about to move off. She tries to run after us, but she can't quite manage it and stands waving to us with both arms. Maybe it's a good thing that it happened so suddenly, a goodbye so quick and sudden, just like death so often is, completely unexpected from one moment to the next, but final and irrevocable. It's a good thing we don't know about it beforehand. Now it's all behind us, the good days and the bad, which we experienced in Dniprovka. That place is now history. But the war will go on, with a future full of blood, fear, and sorrow, from which death will garner a rich harvest. January 23rd. During the night we are ordered out of the bridgehead. There is talk about giving it up altogether, but that's in the lap of the gods. The weather has turned. An hour ago it started to rain. As we wait in front of a bridge for traffic to pass from the opposite direction, we recognize the outline of one of our Ferdinands. In conversation, we hear that the engineers are busy dismantling it and that it will eventually be blown up. January 24th to 27th. We reach a small village during the morning hours and take over a couple of empty houses for our quarters. We remain here for 2 days, and then we travel northwestwards. The roads are now softened up and are becoming seas of mud. We stop at another village. The houses are nearly all occupied, but we find an empty one at last and move in with 20 men, packed together like sardines. During the night it begins to stink something awful, and the next morning we discover a heap of rotten cabbages and a vat of sauerkraut in a corner. February 2nd to 3rd. Tonight we have reached a village called Apostolovo. It is a large place, almost a town in fact. We hear explosions coming from all over the place. No one seems to know where the front line runs. The Russians have broken through the main battle line north of Krivoy Rog and are marching south, driving elements of the German army before them. The roads are a disaster. Not only wheeled but also tracked vehicles are sinking deep into the mud and clogging up every even halfway passable road. We are always leaving our quarters to pull our vehicles out of the mud, a never-ending task. When daylight comes, Russian combat aircraft strafe and bomb the vehicles stuck in the mud. Petrol tanks explode, and everywhere vehicles are in flames. During the day, the Russian artillery fires into the melee. Then we are told that the Soviets are close to the town. Chaos ensues when everyone tries to save himself as best he can. Many of the vehicles from our unit and from others are stuck fast in the mud. Those who can, blow up their vehicles to make sure they don't fall into Russian hands. We run across to ours, which has been standing under cover, and are lucky enough to be able to jump-start it and get away. But a few days later, we lose our truck in the mud as well, and now we have to walk. February 8th. A general retreat towards the west gets underway. While our men try to save as many vehicles and heavy weapons and as much equipment as possible, struggling through the mud or by using the railway, we are employed as rearguard security to prevent the advancing enemy from reaching the main column. The road takes us, with many engagements along the way, over Shirokoye and Mykolaevka to Ingul, and from there by means of a harrowing march through the sticky mud all the way to the river bug. This is a terribly demoralizing time, trudging through gluey slime, without sleep, and with very little food, our feet blistered and bloody, our ears aching because of the unrelenting yells of hooray from the pursuing enemy, whom we had to fight off in order to stay alive, and I have neither time nor opportunity to make any notes. However, as soon as my battered body has had a bit of time to recuperate in Vosnesensk on the bug, I catch up with recording my never-to-be-forgotten experiences and traumas. I have given up trying to quote the exact dates of the various incidents of the retreat in favor of concentrating on what actually took place during this awful period. This concludes the 19th part of the story. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe for more episodes and leave a comment.